Hello everyone and welcome to Handing the Shame Back, a YouTube channel dedicated solely to adult survivors of child sexual abuse here in Aotearoa and out across the world. My name's Gloria Masters, and if you're new to the channel, I welcome you on board. All survivors are safe here, and this is an opportunity and a place for you to maybe get some resource and hear some things that may help lift and support your story. Before I introduce you to our next fabulous guest, I just want to give a trigger warning. If for any reason you feel triggered watching this, please stop, don't continue, go to the show notes below this episode and you'll be directed to some help and resource. But in the meantime, welcome to the show. Let me introduce to you Matiu Taitoko. He is a man who is a fellow survivor, otherwise he wouldn't be with us. He has 30 years lived experience. He has recently come into the field of giving back, and he helps other male survivors through their journey. He's a keen hunter and fisherman, so I'm gonna tap him for some fresh fish. Actually, it's been a while, and yeah. So welcome, Matiu. How are you?
Boy, thank you. Yes.
Good day. Good day down in Canterbury.
Yeah. Well, it was a snowy morning, but wet as well. But the sun's starting to come out now.
That's good. I was saying to Matiu before we came on air, fabulous survivors, that he and I are twins today. So I'd like you to take note that we're both wearing blue, which is the colour for communication. So there you go. No pressure, Matiu, no pressure. Okay, so look, we're here to kind of have a little bit of a discussion around your experience, I guess, and as little or as much as you're comfortable to share, and then we move on to kind of what helped you get through all of that and what you're doing now. So where was home? Where did you grow up? Tell us about you. Kia ora, Matiu.
Kia ora, kia ora. From Ngāti Puto. I was there for 17 years. Till I moved to Canterbury. Moving to Canterbury was just a matter of me getting in too much trouble where I was living, and I had to get away. I don't know why, but I had to get away. Yeah, there's a lot of things going wrong. That's why, I think.
When you were 17?
Yeah, from when I was abused to 17.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what age were you when the abuse began for you?
I was only a young lad, 7 or 8 years old, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
And someone known to you or a stranger or?
Yeah, 2 uncles actually. Started off with 2 uncles. Abused both me and my brother. Yeah.
Yeah. And they say, Matiu, that over 93% of all child sexual abuse is by someone known to us or related to us. So
yeah. Yes, I'm living that at the moment, eh? Yeah.
Well, I don't know if it was any different back then, to be honest. But yeah, so did anyone know of this apart from you and your brother? Were you able to share with mum or dad or?
No, it wasn't.
No.
There was too much trauma going on. Yeah. So it's really difficult to trust anyone to talk to about it, But as an adult today, you can almost tell people that have been abused, the way they act, there's similarities. Yeah, so probably somebody might have known. Yeah, but they didn't say anything back in the day, yeah.
There wasn't the permission back then, was there? It was not the not the willingness to hear.
Well, that's right. That's dead right. That's dead right.
Mm. So your uncles obviously managed to get away with it, I guess, or yeah, are they still with us today, or have they passed on?
Oh, one's just passed on. The other one's still around, you know. But you can see the result of that being the alcoholic life they live. Yeah.
Yeah. So when you talk about the effects, and you can see, I think you just said, you know, you can kind of see it in people. You recognize some of the signs. What do you recognize in people now, Matiu, now that you've got 30 years lived experience? What do you notice? And
Oh, wow. Just the way they act, you know. The sort of don't know how to ask, and they perform, you know, just acting out really. Some, you know, that's what I was like as a child too. I was acting out, and gee, I didn't really know what was going on, why I was acting that way, different to other young men, you know. And I sort of look back on that life and think, wow, that's what was going on for me. Yeah.
yeah. And 100%, we don't know why we're doing what we do, but we just know we're feeling, well, I can only talk for me. I felt so different from everybody else. I just felt different.
I support that. I do support that. But what was it? You know, why? I didn't know. I knew I was being abused and had been abused. And then there was a trauma after that with whānau stuff, you know. And yeah, so I was sort of lost, eh?
Yeah. And now you're found, and watch out the fish in the sea and the deer on the land, eh? Right. Matiu's coming for you.
Don't forget the wild pig. Don't
forget. I was going to say that as well, but you know, well, full credit to you. It takes a lot of courage. Actually, we can sometimes, when we bring this to the surface, we can almost feel like we're that child again, or we can get, you know, taken straight back in time almost. Were you a person, because some of our wonderful survivors out there watching this will, you know, have experienced maybe always knowing the abuse happened, or like me, suppressing it and then it reappearing in our lives when we could deal with it. What was the story with you?
No, there's something that I had carried and you always knew about it.
Always knew, yeah.
I didn't know how to get out of it though. You know?
Yes. Oh.
Well, yeah, I was actually quite lucky. I stumbled upon it actually in my recovery world.
And what does that mean when you say you stumbled upon it?
Well, I always knew there was something wrong.
Yeah.
So I stopped drinking. That wasn't easy at all. You know, there was a lot of lying, telling the family I had stopped, but I wasn't, because I had my own place and I was doing what I was doing. You know, and it was really hard. It was really hard to get rid of that. Yeah. So anyway, I ended up going to 12 steps, AA, Alcoholics Anonymous, and I hated it. I really hated it, but I knew I had to be somewhere. And then from there, some brilliant guy took the floor. It was his turn to share. And then he started sharing about sexual abuse and then how he got help and where he got help. And I just, his story was my story, practically.
Yeah.
It was like he was in the room type thing, you know, same similar stuff.
Yeah.
And I hit him up after the meeting. Where did you go? How did it go? Was he a nice man to talk to? Did he understand? And he did. And I didn't think anybody understood, you know. I was alone for a long time.
Yeah. And wow, very, very, very challenging, I think, and very confusing, because you know what had happened. You know that what you're doing to cope with it is completely self-destructive. And yet we do it to compensate, because I don't know if you'd heard this, but over 90% of addictions in our country and in New Zealand are directly linked to childhood trauma, specifically child sexual abuse.
Yes, yes. Yes, well, that's right. I do agree.
Mm. So one of the things I'd love to get your take on this is, to me, I honour all our survivors for whatever they did to survive. And if you ended up drinking too much, if you ended up on drugs, if you ended up doing whatever you did to try and compensate or to deal with or try to keep away from the fear and the trauma of it, I applaud you, because you did what you had to reach a place where you could face into it.
Yeah.
So I think there's been enough abuse, Matiu, that's gone on. We don't need to keep abusing ourselves by beating ourselves up because we tried to compensate. Yeah.
Yes. And I do like that. I do like people that understand and, yeah, do understand that. Because, it's hard for us to be abused and then carry on with some unreal behaviors, eh? Yeah, and drinking is one of them.
Of course.
I became an alcoholic before I left school.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Yeah. What age did the abuse carry on until you had left?
No, it sort of stopped at teenage years when I was old enough to push people away.
Yep. Okay.
Mm.
Yeah. So, and then of course the self-abuse began, and
Yeah,
we can all relate to that.
no,
And
yeah.
there'll be men in the audience and women watching who will see this and think, yep, that was me, or me as well. So, we need to honor ourselves. We've had enough of being made to feel bad. The abuse did that for us.
Thank you. Yeah.
In essence, didn't it? We don't need to carry it on. So
That's right.
mm.
It's a good time to heal, eh? It's a good time to heal and understand.
Yep.
Yeah.
The other thing too is, I guess when you think about it, it happens in families. We know now, the police tell me that one report is up to 1 in 3 New Zealand adults
Yeah.
have experienced some form of child sexual abuse.
1 in 3, is it? I thought that was for women.
Up to 1 in 3. No, think about it, Matiu. How hard is it for me to get men on the show?
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
So men aren't going to come forward because we don't have a society that allows men to be vulnerable or afraid or in pain or struggling.
That's right.
You guys are meant to be out there protecting the world.
That's right.
So society doesn't allow. So I'm not surprised that our amazing male survivors struggle to speak.
Yeah, look, I understand that. I understand that. It's hard to come out and say that you've been abused by another man,
Yeah.
So yeah, it takes people to come out and share their experiences, eh?
Yeah. And that's what you were doing today, and you will be helping, and I'm just very humbled that you are. And I guess there are a few myths around this, so I wonder if you can help me. Naturally the answer is yes. Yes, Gloria, let me help. So what's myth number 1? When you hear about a man coming forward and saying, look, I was abused as a child, what sort of rubbish do you get thrown back at you? Give me a myth that's out there around the responses that you get.
Oh yeah, get over it. Get over it. happened to me too. But you get on with it. You get on with it. You know, harden up, that sort of thing.
Yep.
Yeah. But now I know who supports who. And, you know, depend on what they say to me now. I know who they support. And that's important to me. Hey, because at least I know now.
I think, Matiu, I think a couple of things, that harden up or get over it comes from such a place of ignorance, and it's so dismissing of the impact of this. And so I understand what you're saying. I think people are just living in such denial that this goes on. And, you know, you can see how big the numbers are. And, you know, I guess one of the other things I'd love your opinion on is I had Ken Clearwater on the show, and he talked about, what are you, gay?
Very scary, that one. It's
Yeah.
very scary. And you live with that for a long time. You start questioning yourself because you don't have any understanding.
But you're a small child when it all began. I mean, how on earth can you be?
That's right. Even as a small child, then you grow up to be an adult and you're still living with that.
Yeah.
People understand it like that. It's such a sad place, you know. You're not helping anyone.
No. And again, it's that absolute ignorance, and you know, and let alone being abused by a woman. So, yeah, some of the comments people get around that are pretty distressing, actually. So, what do we need? What would you say male survivors need in terms of responses? How can we help change the narrative so the support is more open, men feel safer to come forward? What's needed, Matt?
You need to be respected. You need love. You need a good, respectable love. You know, you need to understand it. You need somebody that will listen to you, somebody that would let you share and just let it all out, because you haven't let the stuff out. You know, you've built it up for a long, long time, and not only that you're abused, but you've gone on to abuse maybe, or gone on to destruct, maybe, and that's not a good place, mate. That's really awful. So you just need people to listen and love and care.
Yeah.
Respect.
I love that. Listen, love, and care. And there's a little bit of this out there too, Matiu, which I heard and I wanted to bring to your attention, and you've just mentioned it, that some people who have been abused go on to abuse. I've heard that that's very, very low statistics. That actually, if you've been abused as a child, doesn't necessarily mean you're going to go on and abuse as an adult. Yeah?
Yeah, in some cases. But, you know, when you're having sex under the age of 16, it makes you wonder. What is abuse?
Yeah.
You know, what is experimenting? You know, so you got to learn all this stuff.
Yeah.
And maintain a healthy lifestyle.
Yeah, because this, you know, you talk about the destructive nature of it, and you know, I guess one of the things that helps is, how did you manage to move on from that kind of self-abuse through alcohol, being an alcoholic, coming clean, which would have been so hard. I can't even give up coffee. So I don't know how you did it, but congratulations. You know, that's a lot of work. How did you move on from that place to having your 30 years of lived experience and now giving back? And what would you like to share about how all of that transition? What was there, a pivotal moment?
Oh, look, you know, I wasn't holding jobs, and why wasn't I holding jobs like everyone else? You know, I had two good hands, I had a good body, and I just wasn't holding it together. And you know, I drink from Wednesday to Sunday, you know, and I got to go to work tomorrow, and I wasn't in a good place. And you know, I was lucky to come to Christchurch because my first partner was a family of recovery, yeah, and they were still using. You know, my partner was still using, but her dad was working in a place called Hamner Springs, a recovery place up there, and he spoke to me. He could see me and him. Yeah, so yeah, we had that talk. It wasn't a good one. It wasn't good at all.
Can you tell us a bit of he said, she said? Just
you know,
because, you know, it's helpful for
well, my partner went up to a family week in Hemna, you know, and my partner, before she left to go there, I could get her to do anything almost that I wanted her to do, you know, and she was that person, and I was that person. And when she did a week in Hemna, she was so powerful.
Really?
So that was the change there. And then her dad spoke to me on the same day because I wasn't in a good place. I was out of it. Actually, when I picked her up, I was out of it. And that's it. He lost the plot. He just gave it to me and told me that he was going to send another alcoholic with experience to come down and talk to me. And I thought, okay, this is my time. So we had that talk, and I still didn't give up drinking for a while. You know, the same things were happening. I was getting into trouble, and yeah, I just had to get help, seek help, man.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
Wow, that's it sounds like quite a dark road you went down for a while.
The funny thing was, you know, when I signed up to get help, you know, they asked me what kind of drugs I was on, and I was only on alcohol at the time, and they couldn't believe I was just on alcohol, but that's how destructive just alcohol was for me.
It is it's the biggest drug, most powerful drug there is, but it's just we can buy it. So
that's right. That's right.
So coming out of that, how long have you been clean and sober?
32 years.
Oh, congratulations.
Like that, yeah.
Yep. And so obviously the first marriage or the first relationship ended?
No.
No, you're still together?
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Yeah. Thanks.
That's awesome.
Yeah. You know, it's good, eh? It's really good.
That's great.
Yeah.
It can sometimes.
Yeah, I'm really happy about that. Yeah. Only because I worked on myself, otherwise, you know,
Yeah.
wouldn't happen.
No. And you haven't just done that and maintained a really good relationship. You've also managed to join an organisation where you help other fantastic male survivors start their healing journey. Can you tell us a bit about that? What led you to that? Did Leo the dog have anything to do with it? You know, we love Leo.
We all love Leo. Leo's good. Leo's great. I can't believe I love little Leo. I like big dogs, big turds. But yeah, no, Leo's been great. Sorry, what was the question again, love?
I was just wondering what led you to this place. What led you to being able to give back and help others?
I think I was just ready. You know, I was ready. Yeah, took me a long time. I always told guys that worked in this area, the family members now, that I will get there eventually, but I haven't got tired yet in doing manual labor. Yeah. And as I was thinking about myself, the guys I wanted to work with, I forgot they were getting older too, and they were retiring. So I never got to work with the person I wanted to.
Yeah.
And that was Ken Clearwater. So yeah, no, he's moved on, but we still engage. We still engage, and he's been very, very helpful, very understanding, eh? Yeah. And just hopefully those people haven't gone altogether because they're really hard to come by.
Yeah, no, he's still around and he's working in a commission of an inquiry at the moment, I believe. But it was him that said to me to reach out to you. So
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, I only had about half an hour with that man when he directed me to the right people. And there was enough to have that guy set in my heart for a long time.
That's beautiful. And now you can give back, and now you can help others. Yeah.
Yep.
So how do you, they obviously come through the door, and then what do you do? How do you work with them, Matiu? What do you?
Oh, like I said at the start, I share who I am,
Okay.
so they understand me and where I come from. Obviously, make them feel welcome.
Yeah.
I make them feel that they're safe, very safe, actually. Yeah, and yeah, I don't know, I just able to tap in there, eh? And have a lot of respect for my men, for our men, and yeah, and I tell them I'm no better than them, and I'm not, up there and you're down here. None of that stuff at all. Try and keep it equal, and try and give them some tools, and keep it really simple. I try and keep it really simple, I think the world's getting too carried away and getting too difficult, I think just like my granddad, he kept it simple, and he was a good bloke, So yeah, so I sort of work like that.
That's amazing. And I like what you're saying, stand beside. And, I think it's really important that, we do that for our beautiful survivors. We need to stand beside and support each other. We don't stand in front. We don't stand behind. We stand with. It's
I
quite.
really liked peer support service that they had, because when I started, I just had counselling. But after my counselling, things changed. The only thing I had after that was the 12 steps, and that was brilliant. That was brilliant. And but I still needed somebody around. That's where I think this peer support's really great. And I got it pretty quick. Yeah, this is what we need, I thought.
And how does it work?
Hey, we just work with them.
How
So
do they find you, I guess? How do they?
Well, they come through the Canterbury Men's Centre.
Okay.
And they'll just discuss what's going on for them. And it might just come out that they need help around their sexual abuse. And then that's how we get them.
Yeah. And the more we normalize these conversations, the more we can help take away the shame and fear and trauma that we still carry, because it is such a hard thing for us as survivors to manage all of that, and there's so many ripple out effects.
Yeah.
So yeah. Would you, if I asked you what would you think needs to happen in our country to help support, encouraging survivors to step forward, and male survivors to step forward, what would you say needed to be done, or what would you like to see happen?
People that work in this workspace understand or been there themselves, so they understand about empathy, and sort of what else? And building the community. Building the community is a really good thing too, so that we can have those discussions, to make them open. Yeah. Because they never was there at my time. It was really hard to work on this stuff in 1991 and 1992 for me, But now I find it so easy that, crackies, you wouldn't believe it. When I started out working with sexual abuse, or working on myself, I was like in this box. Yeah. And it was lonely. It was yeah. So the more the community's built, it'll make me feel comfortable, hopefully it'll make our other surviving men feel comfortable as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The more we normalize the conversation, the more we have the
That's right.
conversation, the more people feel they can speak.
Yeah,
People say to me,
yeah.
why do you have to keep speaking about this?
Yeah.
And I say, because it could be your child or grandchild I save.
Dead right. And the
It's
time-
yeah.
Yeah.
It's
And they just need to hear that, that person must understand what I'm feeling. So maybe I can talk to that person, yeah.
yeah.
And it's your tone of voice too. It's how you come across with these men. You know, no good being too abrupt all the time. You know, sit to club, speak nicely to them. That's what they want to hear.
Well, it's respect, isn't it?
Dead right.
And, you know, I was interviewing a survivor last night and she used these words and I thought 100%. She said, speaking about this was like leaping off a tall cliff. That's how much courage it took.
Yeah, dead right. I applaud that person.
Yeah.
You know, it's just like your car breaking down. You wouldn't take it to a baker, would you? You know, take it to a mechanic.
No. Yeah, good.
Well, that's how I look at it.
No, I agree. The you know, there's just such a lot of us out there, and the reality is, much if there's up to 1 in 3 of us in our country, and put that out across the world, we got a lot of people who have struggled with this and can't talk about it. But equally, we've got people who enable it. And by that, I mean they know it happens. I'm talking about a tamariki now. It's known, it's happening. And these gatekeepers or enablers don't do anything to stop it.
Yeah.
So, you know, we've got prisons full of people. We've got addiction rates that are, as we talked about, linked to this. We've got post-traumatic stress. You know, there's a little myth out there that it is mainly Vietnam or war vets that struggle with post-traumatic. No, it's not.
Yeah.
It's people like you and I. Over 70% of people who have PTSD have experienced some form of childhood sexual abuse.
Well, that's right. Well, that's what we were taught at the start too. You know, we understood it like that. If you've been to war and you have a hard time when you come out, that's PTSD, right? So actually that war's happened to us too.
But guess what? Spot the difference. You can have been at war for our country, proudly represented our country. You'll come home, you'll get a medal, you'll get honoured, you'll get put on a platform, you'll get benefits for the rest of your life. You'll be in a big parade marching down the main street. Spot the difference?
Yeah, that's right. And
what happens to survivors?
That's right. And if you're lucky enough, you get a bit of Māori land. That's
Yeah.
Too.
Yeah.
And that impacts a lot of us too.
Yeah, of course. It's all, you know, when we stand back and really look at this, there's not a lot of appetite for this being exposed. And I'm here to say, alongside you, I stand with you, Matiu.
Kia ora.
Yeah, we need to talk about this, and we need to keep talking.
Yes, that's right. That's right. Look, like I say to the others, you know, I'm only in this space for a little time. Somebody else will come in after me and hopefully do a good job as well.
Yep.
Yep.
And
there forever, love.
Yep. And we had, like, you know, as you know, I interviewed your colleague Matt last week. He's had over 120 views of that, you know. Yeah. Bless his little cotton socks. Right. And he now says to me, oh, it could have gone on forever.
Yeah. You know, I think he's proud of that, you know.
I'm proud of him. Yeah.
I'm proud of him too, mate.
Yeah. So, look, Lee, we need to find a way to continue the conversations, and you know, Matiu, we have this platform anytime. I'm always really open to having conversations like this, having panel discussions, getting the word out every week. So.
Yeah. So we do have a good place here. We try our best here at Canterbury Men's Centre, male survivors. We do try our best.
Yeah.
That's what we can do, eh?
Yep. Yeah. And the more we speak, the more you see what happens is when you think about it, you imagine hearing someone like Ken Clearwater or someone you respect share their story, like you did when you went into 12 Steps and you heard that man speak and you thought, oh my gosh, he's telling my story. Yeah. Now, what that did immediately was gave you permission.
Kia ora, mate. That's right. Hey, so the more discussions we have like this, here you go. Dead right. And that was only me in the room. There could have been someone else in the room. Who knows?
Kia ora, Matiu. I've got you now. So, you know, we've got beautiful men out there who just need to hear these voices, yeah? And then feel like they can speak. Because that's what people often say is, oh, I found your channel. Oh, I just feel so much better. I'm not alone. It's not just me. And we kind of, you know, we don't want to leave survivors stranded because we know how that self-abuse can take place.
Yeah. Dear Brian.
Yeah. So interestingly, you know, there are ways, and I wonder if, you know, you've shared with us about the drinking. For some of us, we can become workaholics because if we work really hard, we don't have time to think. For some of us, we can become overeaters and food becomes our addiction. For some of us, it's the drug path. For some of us, we isolate ourselves. We don't want people around us because we're scared of what our anger could do. Yep. So it's multi-layered and goes quite a way in.
Well, you talk about addictions. I think once you've done a bit of recovery, you got to learn about balance and just put so much into that, you know, just have a bit of balance, eh? Because you can overdo it. And I learned that being an alcoholic, I could overdo it. And, you know, working too much, I could have done that too. But then I looked at my alcoholism, you know, and thought, you know, don't want to be addicted to work. That's a boring place. I could go hunting.
Yes. So do you, I guess moving into, you know, just thinking about what got you through, what would you say helped you in your recovery from this trauma? What's helped you?
No, to be able to find something that my dad introduced to me as a young lad, and there was a lot of hunting. Like, you know, just a lot of times a lot of years when I forgot about that and just indulged in the alcohol and a wee bit of marijuana here and there. And so all that stuff was left behind, eh? And then in this recovery world, you know, I had to search and really search hard for the good things that I had in the past that I could use, you know, for today. And that was the big one, was the hunting.
Wow.
And diving. Yeah.
Yeah.
So those were good, happy places for me back in the day.
Yeah. And it sounds like you had some good men around you too, like your dad, like your granddad.
Well, yeah. I'm not saying that my dad was because I was the first son, so you know, I went through all the crap, but the other ones went well, you know.
Yeah.
So I understand that too. I get it. But at the time, I didn't.
No, of course not. So hunting and diving helped, I guess. Being not being an alcoholic anymore helped. Would you say that counselling helped?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I did that for years after I hated it, you know. And I think, this is it. You know, I'm actually feeling better.
Yeah.
So since 12 steps counselling.
Yeah.
Out there, I don't know, we all would have been probably dead.
Yeah.
Probably murdered before I killed myself too.
Yeah, because you would have pissed off enough people, you
I
reckon?
would pissed off enough people. Yeah.
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 Yeah. There could have been a line forming.
There was a line forming, all right. But I'm not
So,
that person anymore, and I can
no.
face those waves today, you know.
Mm.
Yeah.
What advice, and I know that I can see in you already you don't like giving advice, but I'm just asking because it may help, a survivor out there watching. What advice would you give to a male or female survivor who's struggling to deal with the trauma? What advice would you give them to start their recovery?
Dig deep, look for help. Don't give up on yourself. Yeah, because there's some really nice people in the field that can help and really help if you want it.
Yeah.
And it's really hard to make that transaction from that person to this person. You got to dig deep. It's worse than a fight, you know. It's just so you got to dig deep. Learn about respecting yourself. You'll get there. Accepting. I had to accept. It was really hard to say that, but a lady helped me with acceptance, and it was really hard to accept the abuse and think, well, why should I be apologizing? You know.
Yeah.
But I had to make the stand first. There was no way that was going to happen, so I had to learn to accept what happened to me. Yeah.
It sounds a little bit like that. Would you say like that kind of whole grief cycle where it's denial, rejection, anger, fear, and then you kind of move to acceptance? Is it that? Would you say it's similar to that when you're recovering from this type of trauma?
Yeah, very much. Yeah,
Yeah,
very much.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So also coming from that world, now we're talking a different language. The language was hard. I couldn't get around the language. Every time they asked me to share, I couldn't because I couldn't really understand the language that they were talking. Yeah.
And
So,
now you're a pro.
I wouldn't say that. Look.
but no, I understand what you're saying, because if you can't connect with the language around it, it makes it very difficult to then find your voice around it. Yeah.
I get very excited now about learning stuff now, I think it's great when I hear things. It doesn't always stay in there, but when I hear it, wow.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Professor Matiu, eh?
I wouldn't go that far, mate.
Well, I think with what survivors go through, I think we deserve
Thank you.
to be graduates of something. But advice to other survivors, and I say it hugely respectfully. I'm just trying to give our audience some hope, some help, some resource, and that they're not alone. As we look at things you would like to share, is there anything you would like to maybe share or add that you haven't yet with us today?
No. I always talk about sharing the love and respecting everyone, but maybe I'm a bit of a hippie, eh? Maybe I'm a bit of a hippie.
Nothing wrong with that.
Nothing wrong with that.
Nothing wrong with that. Yeah. Where, it's interesting, when I set up this channel, I had people a bit annoyed with me because I wouldn't accept survivors of adult, kind of abuse that occurred when they were adults.
Okay.
And I kept saying, no, this channel is only for survivors of child sexual abuse. And I'm so glad I've stuck to that, because there's a whole lot of other services out there for adults who have experienced sexual trauma, but this is child sexual abuse, and I believe its impact is huge. And yeah.
When I still hear the same story, my story today, that's what grabbed me, 2 weeks into the service, and I heard that story again, I just had to stick around.
Yeah. We see.
Share my story.
Yes. And that's what, see the ripple out, see the effect, it grows.
Yeah, you're good at it, aren't you? You're good at it. You bring it out of me.
That's my job. That'll be $57, thank you. But you know, we're all little, we're all helping each other. We just don't realize it, and I think we're all connected somehow. And if we can help too, as you said earlier, listen, love, and care, then surely there's opportunity for growth and goodness in the world. So let's just help.
And eating. Don't forget to eat and drink. Eh?
Oh.
Don't forget those things. You know, they're basic, but you know, we always hear them. And I've been using it in this job for myself.
Yeah.
It's brilliant.
And rest and give yourself time to enjoy life.
Yeah.
Enjoyment.
Understanding why we have our sleep, you know, all that stuff. Wow, just sleep because you're supposed to sleep. But to learn about the mechanics of it all, something else again.
So what is that? What is that?
Well,
share with
about,
me.
you know, not eating at the right times. You know, stop drinking at the right time, because you know when we get older we go to the toilet at funny hours of the morning. But yeah, and if we eat, the mechanics inside isn't working, so it's working overtime. So of course I'm not going to have a good sleep, and I've never had a good sleep. But now that I've practiced this stuff, I'm getting an extra couple of hours.
Wow. Hey, so do chewy caramel Tim Tams fit into that?
I'll throw those out, mate.
Yeah, all right. Not all of us have. Okay, so as we're moving into our closeout, that surprised you, didn't it, Matiu? Hey? As we're moving into that, is there anything you know you would like to share, or anything you would like us to discuss in the last couple of minutes that we have?
Reach out. Don't be shy to get on the phone. Reach out. That's all I got to say. Reach out.
And don't.
Yeah. And it's not a race. It's not a race.
Yeah.
You'll get there in the end. I always said I was the turtle, and I got there in the end.
And look at you now. Wow. Hey?
Yeah.
So, well, let me finish up with our audience. Matiu, kia ora. Hey, guys, haven't we been lucky with having him here today? And look at the gems he shared with us, you know, even to the last second, like it's not a race. Taking care of yourself, don't give up on yourself. Those three aspects of listen, love, and care are what survivors need. Pick up the phone, go hunting or fishing. Don't eat chocolate Tim Tams. No, of course you can. But you know, with love and light to all of you. And Matiu, final goodbye from you.
Ka kite. God bless everyone. I know you don't like the word God, but I need it in my life. Kia ora.
Okay, stay where you are, Matiu. So, survivors, you know, I so value who you are out there. I'm so humbled to be able to do this work with you, and I see you, I stand with you, and I believe you. Till next time, fabulous ones.